Okie dokie. This is gonna be really hard. What I'm gonna try to do is play this game a little bit so that you can see my 4 joysticks and the screen. So first, you might notice that I turned on float. So that's what makes it so that when I throttle in any direction, I simply drift. And so everything is inertial thrust physics, and I have 6 degrees of control here between my 4 sticks. So the sounds you're going to hear is reaction wheels, and the motorcycle sound is actually the fuel pumps pressurizing the fuel system. I'm going to just fly nice and slow. So the main engine has a lot more thrust than any of the other directions of thrust, like braking or left, right, and center. The rotational axes are very responsive, and particularly the roll axis is powered by a huge reaction wheel, which you can see on the other vehicles. The vehicles are round. What that is the reaction wheel that controls the roll axis, and that's the hum sound that you hear as well. And that motorcycle-y sound is actually the fuel pressurization pumps that are pressurizing the fuel system. So it's not trying to sound like motorcycles. It's assuming that the pumps that pressurize the fuel system will actually be audible to the pilot. Since the sound is not going to leave the craft, it actually should be kind of loud for the pilot to be inside of a race spacecraft. So you can tell that I am not flying fast. What I'm hoping that I can do is, so you see this little cursor is my direction, and so then it beeps when it lets me know that I'm going inside of the, so I can just turn, and now I'm still moving that direction, and I got a throttle to try to cancel my velocity and get a new vector. And if I turn around all the way backwards, you see that is my reverse. So that's the exact opposite of which way I'm going. Luckily, I'm not going very fast. So you can see I'm also using my other directions of thrust, which are much more effective while I'm flying so slow. But when you start flying a little more fast, like a more racing speed, you really have to point opposite of your velocity as well as towards your target velocity. So the idea here is that actually you're not flying that fast. Your spacecraft is not moving that fast. Everything is in orbit together. You see the round, and then you don't really change your speed all that much. So it's a realistic idea to be able to race around a track like this. You can see I'm really not moving that fast. So I play this like it's maybe some space racing drones or something. Like an FPV drone would be a really lightweight vehicle and would be able to fly around, you know, quite a bit with some pretty good agility, and it would be a It would not be... Oops, I'm going to... I missed a gate. It would not be a stretch of the imagination that you could have a whole race and stuff like that. So it's not like you're changing to fly from one planet to the next suddenly. You know, you're just in orbit. Your orbital velocity is actually quite high, but you don't perceive that velocity against other objects that are in orbit with you. And then at that point you can see that actually I'm flying around, but I'm really not moving that fast. Now you can go quite a bit faster, but you can't change your direction all that fast. Once you start going pretty fast, you gotta really have your timing right. I mean, this is a racing game, and your curves have to be perfect, and you can probably see that my curves are really lazy, really loose. I would need to be turning perfectly to be going fast around this track and hitting it just right. And I'm just not any good at this game, and I'm just really a beginner. I mean, this controller that I'm using, you can see that I built it. And it's been sitting around for like a year. One interesting thing that I missed another gate, that I've noticed about this kind of approach is that this kind of game is that a popular game style in space games is that you roll and fly up towards your opponent. But with inertial physics, it's actually the opposite. Instead, you want to point down, because then when you cancel your momentum, the top of your craft is actually what's facing towards your new direction of travel. So if you wanted to at all times be able to see where you're going, you would actually point, and you would expect to turn down towards your new vector. So I'd point my desired vector in a downward angle, and then, but actually in this game, even though it looks like I should be able to see, I can actually see better. Oh, I'm missing a gate here. Sideways, because you know, I can't see up at all, but my screen is a little bit wider. So I tend to take the angle sideways, because then I can kind of see where I'm going. And the other thing too is on those compasses you can see that I've got green lines and red lines, and so the arrow line is actually where I'm headed, and there's one here too, and the red line is my target gate, and this other green line is my next gate. So if my going lines up with the red, I don't actually need to see, so I can throttle without actually seeing. But I'm not very good at that. Alright. I don't want this video to go too long, so I'm going to go ahead and end the video.